Wait, stop. That's the one. Welcome to ZEN TENN Speaks, a show where I make new friends and reconnect with old ones. A show where everyone's stories may inspire you to tell your own story. In this podcast, we encourage everyone to get rid of shame, guilt, fear, doubt, and judgments for themselves and for others, and replace those with love, empathy, compassion, understanding, kindness, and to do your best in everything that you do. In essence, to get rid of things that no longer serve your well being, to be true to yourself and be honest with others. Today we have a guest. Our guest today is Saunders. And Zach today wants to tell us about his recovery for over 10 years now. And I read his message prior to this podcast, and his story is very inspiring. And so let's hear it from Zach. Welcome to the show, Zach.
Thanks, and I appreciate it. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to tell my story. It's been a while since I've talked about it, so.
Yeah, I see. When you say that much for like a decade now, I'm like, oh, wow, that's pretty impressive. That's amazing. That's great.
It'll actually be 12 years I've been sober on May the 9th.
Nice. Wow. Congrats. So tell us about who you are and what brings you joy.
I'm just pretty easygoing guy. You know, I enjoy hanging out with my family. I got a beautiful wife and 3 beautiful kids. My youngest is 3 months old now. My oldest
congrats.
Thank you. My oldest is 10, and I got a 5-year-old, my wife and I. But I like hanging out outdoors. I live in Alaska, so in the summertime, it's great to go out and see the wilderness, and, the mountains and stuff like that. And my wife and I like to take the kids out to do things, different areas, like maybe aquariums or whatever there is we could do.
Mm-hmm. So summer. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. It's great, man. I like it. I love it. I love my wife. Love my kids. I love Alaska. It's just beautiful here, especially in the summertime.
Mm-hmm. So summer for you is probably like 50 degrees in Alaska.
Yeah, right around there, between 50 and 70, I think. That's okay. That's a nice mild 70, so it's not real hot, not real cold.
Yeah. Is it cold currently for you now? Because it was like 18 degrees in New York.
Yeah, it's 15 degrees right now. We got a bunch of snow and ice on the ground.
Wow.
This is weird for this time of year. January is usually the coldest month, and it gets, from my first year here in 2019, it got down to like negative 30.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah, it was cold.
And you are driving trucks? Is that what it is?
Yeah. Yes,
wow.
Sir. I drive truck for a local fuel company, hauling fuel to different gas stations and stuff. I've been driving trucks for right around 11 years now.
Oh, wow. Great. Well, so you're a pro driving in the cold and the ice and everything.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. My first year here, it was kind of nerve wracking. I was pretty scared, but now I've kind of gotten used to it. It doesn't really bother me much anymore.
Right. Wow. So what was your childhood like?
I had a rough childhood. I had a pretty rough upbringing. Didn't really have a childhood home. I was in and out of different houses. I, sometimes wasn't even sure where my next meal was going to come from and where I was going to sleep. And, there towards the end of my dad's life, I'm sorry. There towards the end of my dad's life, he kind of made up for our childhood, because he as well was addicted to drugs. My mom and dad both. And we kind of, like I said, just moved around a lot. We were in and out of friends and family's houses, and I had a pretty rough childhood. I had I got two brothers and a sister, and we all we all kind of learned to stick together, to help each other. And my parents did a lot. They helped out a lot. My mom, God bless her heart, her and my dad found religion when they finally decided to clean up. They found religion, and they were both pretty active. But yeah, I had a pretty rough childhood. Didn't really have a lot of friends. I had couple friends, but I didn't really have a lot of friends because we moved around so much. Every time I'd make a friend, we'd have to move, and I'd end up losing touch with them and never really talked to them again. And I was in 3 or 4 different schools. It's hard to talk about my childhood, man. Like I said, God bless my mom and dad. Right before my dad passed, a couple of years before that, him and my mom cleaned up. They got sober for, my mom's going on 5 years, 6 years probably now. But they found religion. They started going to church every day. And my dad and mom both, for that matter, pretty much made up for everything for our childhood. And now they're all about their grandkids. Mine and my siblings' kids are their world. They help us out a lot now, and I try to help them out as much as I can.
Yeah. So what contributed to a rough childhood, do you think?
Probably all the moving around and my parents' addiction. They, we didn't really ever have money. I grew up poor. I grew up in poverty, and like I said, didn't know where my meal was coming from or where I was going to sleep that night. I've slept in cars with my family, and it just probably the moving around and the poverty is what the worst part of my childhood was.
Mm-hmm. I do, of course, know there's poverty, and I've seen it. And what I just cannot kind of understand is that how there can be poverty in this country, but I'm a northerner and I've lived in big cities for a long time. So I cannot, of course, think, where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Texas. I was originally born in California, and I moved to Texas when I was 4, and I lived there up till 2019 when I moved to Alaska.
Okay. Yeah, because I cannot really think of other places in the country. Probably in the South, there's poverty different than the North, but there's people who's poor here. And because I living in New York City, and I'm from Boston, only 2 places I've lived, there's a lot of government, what's that thing? Not supplies, government resources. And there's things one can do to get out of poverty. But I'm not saying it's not possible, or it is possible, and everyone has their own kind of ways of getting out of it. Because you got out of it, you have a job, and you say you make that much money, and you're providing for your family. Yeah. So I do understand that not everyone, maybe they have the mental capacity, or they don't have the support, etc. I just cannot understand how people can be poor. But I'm just mostly talking about being in the North, because I don't know how it is.
Right.
But even
it's
well, I'm
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I'm just confused how even here there's poor people, and I'm just like, what's going on? So that's how I was asking. What else? Was it drugs or anything else? And
oh yeah. I started doing drugs probably around the age of 10, 11 years old, somewhere around there. And, I just smoked weed a lot at first. And then I started smoking meth. And that was mainly my biggest drug of choice was meth. It's really what I did after I quit smoking weed, just started doing meth. I did cocaine here and there, but mostly it was meth. And I've, especially being at such a young age, I didn't really have much of a childhood, you know what I mean? Because I was addicted to drugs at such a young age that I was just trying to figure out where the heck I was going to get high at again, or where my next fix was going to come from.
Wow. So who provided those drugs? Like other friends or?
Yeah, most of it was just friends, different contacts I'd made, different people I'd talked to. Some were family members. A couple of them were my actual family members that gave me the drugs I needed. But a lot of it was just whoever I could find, my dealer or wherever I could find them at. I would do whatever I could to make sure I got my next fix.
Yeah. So when that was happening, because I've spoken to different people and they have like different mindset. Because I remember going in school, I didn't know what drugs was. Unfortunately, it's like they have this thing in school where they tell you don't do drugs, but then they don't tell you what drugs is. Just say no to drugs. So
Right.
I don't know if anyone really say, "Hey, want to do drugs?" They usually don't do that. They just give you whatever it is, so you don't know if it's drugs or not. So yeah. So when that was happening, did you ever thought not to do drugs, or was life so rough that you didn't even care to think of those things? Or was it normal to actually do drugs because everyone's doing it and so you didn't think about anything?
A lot of it was peer pressure, yeah, but most of it was just the drugs was my way out of reality, of checking out of reality, of my current, what at that time my reality was, and it was just my escape. It was my scapegoat. It's how I dealt with what I was going through and what I was fixing to go through and everything that was going on at the time. It was my out. It's the way I just kind of, for lack of a better term, shut my reality off.
Excuse me. Yeah, I'm still
fine.
I still have things left behind from the sickness.
Oh man.
Yeah. Wow. I've only heard of these stories while people tell me, and it's I've been living under a rock, and I'm grateful now that I'm able to talk to different people and hear like people like you telling your story and being have so much strength and bravery to tell your story and get out of your situation and inspiring others and letting people know that this is happening, and also letting people know that you can get out of it.
I believe me, it's been a long, tough road. I still have my days now where I still think about it every single day when I wake up and every single night before I go to bed. It's the first thing on my mind and the last thing on my mind. And I've fought and fought and fought, and I still continue to fight for the last 12 years to keep myself clean, to know that I've got a beautiful wife and 3 gorgeous kids that are counting on me to keep myself clean. And they're my wife and kids are my rock. They're what keep me clean, what keep me from going back to drugs and back to that life.
Mm-hmm.
My wife is so supportive. She sees me having a rough time. She'll make sure that I'm okay. She'll come over and sit with me and talk with me and make sure that I'm okay. She'll sit with me through the whole thing until the withdrawal or whatever it is I'm going through is over with.
Right.
Her and my kids are my those guys are my rock.
So so you still have something. So what's the effect? So I want to ask you, what is the physical effect that the drugs have on you when you are doing it? Not like the symptoms afterwards, but like when you want to do it and when you are doing it, like what is the drive or the goal?
For meth, for me, everybody, it's different. It does differently for everybody, but for me, it was like it would give me a bunch of energy. I'd want to do everything. I'd bounce around. I would do an entire puzzle book in an hour because I had so much energy. Or I'd get up and clean something, or whenever I was at work and I didn't feel like being at work, I was tired or exhausted, I would smoke a bowl of meth, and then I would have so much energy. I'd work for another 10, 15 hours. And it just, for me, it was the energy. Like, it gave me so much energy. And that's what I was looking for whenever I was wanting drugs. That's what made me want more.
Mm-hmm. And what was the side effects after the wear off?
We called it coming down, but when you would come down, you would crash. Like, you'd be really super tired, and you would sleep for days, 3 or 4 days. Like, with meth, whenever I would do it, I would stay up for a week straight with no sleep. And then whenever I ran out and didn't have money to buy any more, I would go to bed and I wouldn't wake up for a week. I'd wake up long enough to eat something and go to the bathroom, and then I'd be right back to sleep. I would just crash. Mm-hmm. And I would sleep, and it rots your teeth out. I've got bad teeth now because of it. It brittles your bones. It can make your bones real brittle. Mine aren't, thankfully, but they can make your bones real brittle. And the hardest part for me was the crash, like the sudden just fall asleep and not wake back up for a week.
Mm-hmm. I had a housemate that would sleep for days, and then he swear it wasn't meth. But like, I've smelled meth too. I think it smells like burning plastic, something like that, right?
Yeah, kind of smells like burning plastic, or it's a really hard smell to describe. Burning plastic's actually the best I've ever heard it put. So yeah, it kind of smells like burning plastic. Heroin has a similar smell, but I, for myself, can differentiate the smell between meth and heroin. I never did heroin, but I have been around people that did.
Yeah. Yeah, I never saw it in the house, but then I was just like, what else could make someone sleep for days, really? He said it was just alcohol and Coke, but I never heard those things do that. But interesting.
But cocaine will make you crash too, but it's nothing like a crash with meth.
So you're saying basically so every day you are basically struggling to stay clean. What is the struggle there? Have you pinpoint what that is?
It could be a smell. Like, I could smell something that is similar to that smell. I could taste something that's similar to that taste. I could see it. I can watch TV and I'll see them doing drugs on a movie or something, and it'll happen. I'll have to get up and walk off, but mainly it's I smell something or I taste something that kind of similar or resembles it, and it's what gets me. It's what kicks it off, and it gets pretty bad.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And what is the mental effect besides staying up? Because like, I don't know all the medical terms, but I thought it does something to your brain where it makes you want more of it. But
yeah.
But if you're thinking, like, just like when you decided not to do it, you saw basically your future and you said, okay, I don't want to keep going down this road. So before you want to do it, and then you have that thing in your head that goes click and say, hey, I want to do this. Is it, like that two angels, like the angel and the devil, like the devil say, hey, do it. The angel says, no, look at your life. Does an angel ever come around, or? I mean,
back then no.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, no, back then, no, I basically had a devil on both shoulders telling me, hey, go get it, go for it, do it, smoke it, whatever. Yeah, my angel was pretty much non-existent at that time.
Wow.
Something in my brain, I'm not sure what it was, but something I liked and something I wanted and something I felt like I needed and had to have. So I did everything I could to get it. And like I said, that angel was basically non-existent.
And what is the effect does the drugs have on the relationships you had, as you written?
Um, it ruined my my addiction ruined a lot of really good relationships that could have went somewhere, because I would steal from whoever I was with at the time. I would steal money or whatever I could get my hands on and go get a hold of whatever drugs or whatever amount of meth that I could get a hold of, and I would do it all. And then when I would run out, they would realize that I stole from them, and then they would leave, or I would date somebody that was in the life with me. So we both were drug addicts and trying to figure out where our fix was going to come from, robbing and stealing from family and friends. And I've burnt bridges over the years that are still burnt today because of my drug addiction. And whoever, like I said, most of the time I just dated people for a month or two, somebody that was in the life with me, mainly that was in the drug addiction life. And we would try to figure out where our next fix was going to come together, whether we were from family or whether we were stealing something to sell to get money for it, or whether we were just stealing it all together, stealing the drugs all together.
Mm-hmm. And have you gone, so you probably have gone to NA and AA?
No, actually, I did it all cold turkey. I cleaned myself up. I did it all by myself.
So why didn't you do the NA or AA?
I never really thought about why I didn't. Probably because I'm not really big on groups. Like, I don't like being around a lot of people or a big group. So I think that was more of why I didn't. And I didn't feel like I needed it. I knew I had the willpower to do it myself. I knew I had the ability to clean myself up, and I didn't feel like I needed any help, really.
Wow. And have you? Yeah, go ahead.
I had actually my ex-wife, my first wife, she helped me a little bit, but mainly it was me that cleaned myself up. I got tired of the life. I didn't want to do it anymore, and I didn't feel like I needed help from anybody, so I did it all myself.
Mm-hmm. And you haven't seen a therapist either, or?
No, I haven't. I got a really good friend of mine. Actually, I got two of them that I'm really close to, and they both kind of act as my therapist. I need to talk, and they're there for me day or night. I consider them both my family. They're actually husband and wife, but I consider them more like my brother and sister. They're more so my therapist than anybody. And my wife, she helps me. She talks to me, and she helps me whenever she can. But she can only do so much, and so can they. So for the most part, I talk to them, and really most of the time it helps out a lot.
Mm-hmm. So when you mentioned that you burn a lot of bridges, have you, and you said to this day they haven't been repaired. So what do you mean by repaired? Have you tried to go and repair relationships, or?
Yeah, I've got relationships with family members that I burned, and I've tried repairing or tried to make amends for, and it just I burned them so bad, or I did them so wrong that there's just no repairing it. That's forever going to be a burnt bridge. That I don't talk to a lot of family and a lot of friends anymore. I don't. Excuse me. I don't. I've tried making amends. I've tried talking to the people that I've hurt, or the people that I've burned, or the people that I've stole from, or attempted to steal from, or robbed, or whatever, and they just basically want to have nothing to do with me, whether or not I'm clean or not.
Mm-hmm.
It just, some of those bridges are just not able to be repaired.
How does that make you feel?
Mad at myself. I'm not mad at them at all. They have every right in the world to tell me to get lost. I did them pretty wrong. But like I said, whether it's stealing or whatever, but it makes me feel a little hurt, but honestly, I brought it on myself, and I made that bed. Now I have to lie in it. There's nothing I can do to fix it. So I've
Mm-hmm.
accepted it, and I try to move on. Some of those were really good friends I've had since high school, middle school for that matter, and they just told me they didn't want to have nothing to do with me. Basically, get lost, and it's hard. It's really hard, and it hurts sometimes, but I've learned over the years to kind of deal with it. So I don't think about it much. Sometimes I do, but not a whole lot anymore.
Right. So when that was happening, why was the need to repair a lost relationship? Why didn't you think, I don't know if you did, just move on because it's burned, you just move on? Why did you feel like you wanted to repair it or try to?
Because my conscience got the best of me, and which it should have. I was a horrible person then, and I just felt like I had to try to make amends. I felt like I had to try to repair whatever relationship it was or whatever I could salvage. And like I said, some I was able to repair and some I wasn't. And I don't know, mainly it was my conscience. Like I felt bad. I felt horrible. I still to this day feel horrible for the way I treated them and the things I did to them. And it's hard, knowing that they tried to help me, like whether they would let me move into their house or let me stay with them for a couple days or whatever. And I ended up stealing or burning them somehow, some way or whatever. And knowing that there's no repairing that relationship anymore, it's hard. It's rough.
So when I read that you been for like 11 years and 8 months, when you wrote that to me, and you have a great job, basically making 6 figures and all that stuff. So what does that tell you, looking your history and then where you are now?
It tells me that I should be proud of myself for where I was to what I am today, everything I've done. And it tells me that anybody can recover. They just have to put the work and the time. Like I said, it's been a long, hard road. I've put a lot of work into cleaning up and keeping myself clean, and it just shows me that anybody can do it. They just have to work for it, or they just have to want or have the need to want to do it. And they have to have a support system somewhere, some way that can be there for them when they feel like when they have their bad days, when they want to go back to drugs or they want to go back to that life. And that's why I fight so hard to keep myself clean. I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of where I've become from where I started to where I am now. It's been a long, hard road, but I'm really proud of myself. It shows me that I can do it, that I can do anything. Because there for a while, I thought I couldn't do anything but do drugs. But then I showed myself that I can, that I can be something. I can make something of myself.
Yeah. That's wonderful. When I read that, I was like so elated for you. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. And I'm so glad you went out and did it for yourself. And just to find out today that you didn't even go to AA, you went all cold turkey. I'm like, wow, you could even be a sponsor yourself, like a mentor, because you've gone to.
I'm actually working on that.
I'm
actually working on that. I'm finding somebody that I could sponsor, somebody that I could mentor, somebody that I could help become where I am now.
Right. Definitely. Wow. So there is this kind of I won't say taboo, but there is this thing I've noticed where people, if someone is either drinking or they're on drugs, no one can talk to them, of course, because they're in the thick of it and you cannot tell them nothing. And if you're saying, hey, don't do it, people get offended and they fight. But when someone is on recovery or they done doing it, they advocate for it stopping and it for people stop using and for people stop selling. So why do you think there's that huge gap or contrast? It's like black and white. Are you following?
Yeah, I think I know what you're trying to say. It's man, that's a kind of a tough one. I don't really know that myself, honestly. Like I've thought about that a lot too. Like
Yeah.
it can be done. People just got to want to do it. A lot of people say they're done or they don't want to do it anymore, and they last a month or two or 10 months or a year or whatever and end up right back into the life. But they got to have the strength and the willpower to want to get clean or to want to stay clean, rather.
Mm-hmm.
They got to have a reason to want to stay clean, I guess. I hope that answered your question, because like I said, I've kind of thought about that myself and I'm not really sure how to answer that one.
I've thought about it a lot because I've watched a lot of those dramas where there's someone doing drug, and then there's either this police officer or this mother who goes in the neighborhood and fights with the dealers and telling them to get out my neighborhood and things like that. And they say, mind your business, like I'm doing my business. And of course, people love it because that's why there's customers. And she's like, they're not, things like that. So I'm thinking, I was just like, there's that big gap where she's an extreme, like, no, I'm gonna fight you. And there is this other extreme where saying there's customers, obviously people want it and it's a business and things like that. And it's like people pro of it and con of it. And so, yeah, so it's very interesting watching, at least in movies. But even when it comes to friendship, I've rejected up until last year, but before that I rejected like drinking, taking smokes, or doing any drugs. And then when I've done that, people would call me a square and they don't want to hang out with me, party pooper, and I'm weird. And it's like, but then years later, when I see them on Facebook, they're promoting that they become clean. And it's like, good, I'm happy for them.
Right.
And I cannot help to think like, oh, you're the same guy who would write all these things to me and saying like, hey, I'm weird for not doing it. So it's like, of course I don't tell them anything, because I'm not that kind of person to do that, but I'm just thinking and curious. I would love to ask them that question too, but I think it's too related. So I'm asking you. Because I'm like, so was it the drug talking or?
Yeah, probably. It probably was. The drug did a lot of talking for me. It said and did a lot of things that I probably shouldn't have. So it very well could have been.
Yeah, because I had people, when I said I only want to make friends who will not drink more than 2 glasses per hangout.
Right.
And some people are so offended about that. And all of a sudden they're saying, oh, I'm sober, da, da, da. And then they're advocating and it's like, and it's interesting. I've noticed something as a lot of people, and I've done that too, when I interact with something new, I'm so zealous about it. And people tend to forget that they know they used to be there, but it's kind of like, if you notice nowadays when people protest, people become what they hate the most. They have a realization and then they're so uproar about it. And then they become who they're protesting about without remembering to be humble and that they have their own stuff. Because like, I see them online being advocate for being sober, that's great, but then they're vilifying other people who are drinking or they're vilifying drug dealers. And I was just like, I guess yes and no, but I'm like, you were there. You don't need to vilify them. You can just educate, I'm thinking.
Right.
And since I wasn't never there either, I don't have the same experiences, so I can think that way. But maybe because it's their fight, they do what works best, or I'm just curious.
Yeah, I feel like whenever they do that, when they do try to vilify other people for doing the exact same thing they used to do, it instead of doing that, why don't they reach out and try to help, or try to get that person clean? That's why I'm posting in these different addiction recovery groups and everything. Anybody that is in the life or has some kind of addiction that they're having trouble getting away from, reach out. I'm here. I don't care, day, noon, night. I don't care what time it is. Call me, text me, whatever, and I'll do the best I can to help you. And I feel like you said, instead of vilifying those people, they should be the solution to that problem.
Mm-hmm.
Reach out, help, put yourself out there, let them know, hey, I was there, I've been there, I used to be a drug addict or an alcoholic or whatever, and I can help, and then actually try to help somebody.
Yeah. I was thinking when I started doing this, I was just like, it would be nice to have a protest. Maybe protest is not the right word, but like kind of like people getting together and saying like, kind of like get sober and no more drug dealers kind of protest. Yeah. Or I don't see that. Have you ever seen that? Like,
I haven't, no, personally.
Why isn't that a thing? I'm just confused.
I agree. It should be a thing. Like there should be things like that, and people, or meetings, so to say, for lack of a better term, meetings or protests or whatever, to get rid of the drug dealers, or not to say the addicts, and not really, get rid of the drug dealers, but help them get clean as well.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Things like that. Yeah. I haven't seen it. And of course, it's like, there's so much fights to fight about. And I mean, I'm not saying this is the most I can do, but because like there are so many times I wake up and I want to do something and I was just like, I'm getting a headache. I have my own shit already. And maybe someone else who's like, that's their big issue, maybe that they can take on that because they can run with it.
I mean, I wouldn't mind trying to maybe get something like that started, but that's a war that's been going on for years. Like the police and everybody, church organizations and stuff like that have been trying to clean up the streets and help drug dealers or whoever. And it's just, there's so many of them, and there's so many new addicts or new drug dealers or whatever every single day that it's a losing battle. It's a war that's going to go on for the rest of my life, at least, and probably my kids' life. It's just a war that's going to constantly be going on. And that's why I'm trying to do everything I can do to help. But I'm only one person. I can only do so much. Yeah. I've only got so many resources in my hand that I can't really do much, but I'll do everything I can do.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Thank you for your story and telling us everything and how you overcame it, and now you're living your good life and you have support around you. And I was going to ask you about the support. Do you think someone can make it without having a rock or support around them? Is that possible, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. They just got to have a lot of really strong willpower and the want to actually do it, or actually get clean or sober or whatever. Believe me, a support system helps a lot. It helps out a lot. I didn't have much of a support system when I first started cleaning up, but I've got an outstanding support system now. So it's possible to do without a support, but it's hard. It's a lot harder. But I think if they really want to, or are willing to, and got enough willpower to do it, then absolutely, anybody could do it. Yeah, we definitely need human connection and definitely support, because I look at my personal life about other things, because I like to be entrepreneur and things that I like to do, and I enjoy doing it, but without someone supporting, saying, oh, I like this, or good job, or even like or share, or saying, have an interest to know what you're doing, then as a human being, you feel alone and you ask, why are you doing it? So support
definitely helps. And if you know someone battling anything, addiction or anything, definitely be there for them. So my last question is, I'm curious about why would you or other people I talk to, they call it recovery even when they haven't done it for over a decade? Why is that still recovery?
My thought, I guess, is there's no such thing as a recovered addict, only a recovering addict or an addict in recovery. You're never truly recovered. Like, I'll never truly be recovered. I'm constantly going to be a recovering addict. And I don't know, it's hard to call it anything other than recovery, you know? Or, I mean, I guess you could call it getting sober, but recovery probably is the best, you know, describes it the best.
Okay. I was just curious about that word. And again, I'm not the only I'm not so versed into it because I never had the experience. And so I've only spoken to people. So I'm
Right.
learning in the process. Yeah. Well, that's the time we have because I know you have to go back to work. Is anything you want to tell the audience before we go that you wanted to say?
Yeah. Please, if anybody is struggling with addiction or alcoholism or whatever, and you need help, reach out. There's so many resources in different parts of the country, in different cities and states that can help you. A lot of places have a addiction and recovery hotline that you could just call and just talk to somebody. Or a lot of places have churches and different places that'll help somebody get clean, rehab centers or whatever you want to call it. I don't really like calling them rehab centers, but that's what they are, rehab centers. Just reach out if you need help and you're struggling to with addiction or anything like that. Reach out, help. There's help there. You just gotta, you know, you just gotta let them know you need help. You gotta to swallow your pride and ask for help. Reach out to me. Find me on Facebook. Hit me up. I will do everything I can to help you.
Mm-hmm.
Like just reach out. There's so much help there for people that you just got to do it. You know, I had to swallow my pride and I did it, but you just got to ask for help.
Right. And there's all these Facebook groups where I've noticed a lot of strangers, they're very willing to help another stranger. And so if you feel like you don't have friends or anyone close to you, just go online and make a friend, even if it's online, like it's fine.
Still a friend, you know, it still helps.
Yeah. Thank you again, Zach. And I appreciate you and telling your story today. And I'm so inspired by your story and I'm very proud of you as well.
Thank you. I just, like I said, I wanted to put it out there so people know that you can recover, that it can be done. Like, I'm the face of recovery, you know, of recovering. It can be done. You just got to be able to do it, be able to want to do it.
Certainly. I'm very
Thank you for having me. I've enjoyed talking to you, and you're the first person I've ever really sat down with and told my story to. So thank you.
Yeah.
I feel a lot better. I feel a lot better.
Thank you as well. I appreciate you and you're welcome. Definitely.